Hello, YouTube. So we have some pretty interesting developments in what's happening in Syria over the past couple days. Uh, Donald Trump, he announced that American forces will leave Syria within, in my estimation, in the next 30 to 100 days. Um, Lots of people are happy and lots of people are quite sad about this development. One of the biggest winners, I think, here is the Turkish government. For a long time, they consider the forces that the United States is funding, arming, and supporting the YPG to be a terrorist group. And if you just do some basic research on the YPG, you will quickly learn that they are an affiliate of the PKK. And according to the U.S. State Department, it's actually right here, the Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK. It's been listed as a terrorist organization since October of 1997. And this is right off of the United States Department of State, of foreign terrorist organizations. So there's a whole list right here, and the PKK is right there. The Western media confuses the PKK to be, they call them, quote, the Kurds, as if all Kurdish people are like a monolithic. So like they all have the same ideology, they all have the same belief system, so on and so forth, when in reality, Kurdish people are quite diverse in their politics and in their political leanings. You have, for example, far left Kurds, which is the PKK and the YPG, the terrorist organization that the United States is supporting in Syria against another terrorist group, arguably a worse one, ISIS. And then you have Islamist Kurds, you have conservative Kurds. So Kurds as a people, they're not all the same in their political opinions, and the Western media constantly seems to get this fact wrong. A few years back, Ash Carter was the Obama Secretary of Defense. He was in Congress, and they were actually, during a hearing, they were actually discussing the PKK/YPG. So I'm just going to play this for you.
Secretary Carter, have you ever heard of the PYD?
I have, yes.
Who are they?
They're a Kurdish group, one of several, a number of.
Have you heard of the YPG?
I have heard of them also.
Who are they?
Another Kurdish group.
Aren't they the military wing of the PYD?
They are, yes.
Is that right, General Dunford?
That is correct.
They're a leftist Syrian Kurdish political party founded in 2003. Reports indicate that they're aligned or at least have substantial ties to the PKK. Is that true?
Yes, we have.
Is the PKK a terrorist organization in the eyes of the Turkish government?
The PKK is a terrorist organization not only in the eyes of the Turkish government, but in the eyes of the U.S. government as well, Senator.
Is it as surprising to you that the Turks may be upset with us by arming the YPG in Syria, since they're so closely aligned with the PKK?
No, it's not. No, it's not at all, Senator. We have extensively just clarified. Let me just say that, and the chairman's been involved in this as well. We have extensive consultations with the Turks.
And then he proceeds to make a pretty pathetic attempt at justifying American support for the YPG/PKK. These groups are really all the same in that region. When YPG fighters are in Turkey, they become PKK. When PKK fighters, when they go from Turkey to Syria, they become YPG. When they're in Turkish cities, they become a group known as TAK, T-A-K. But really, they're all the same. They all have the same ideology. Moving on. For a long time, Turkey has threatened to move into Kurdish populated areas where these terrorists control. For example, in the Afrin campaign during Operation Olive Branch, that's exactly what they did. And one thing you can say about the Turkish government is when they say that they're going to do something, they keep their word. They will do it, as in the case of what happened in Afrin back last year, or actually earlier this year. So this was only a matter of time. And the U.S. support for the YPG, SDF, has always been problematic. And also, you have to realize it was a short-term alliance. Because if you pay attention to what the American politicians were saying, they never referred to the YPG as allies. They referred to them as partners. Okay? A partner and an ally are not the same thing. Okay? A partner is less than an ally. So if you pay attention to what the American politicians were saying about these people, you could easily tell this was only going to be a short-term alliance. Now, many of the neocons and the warhawks in the U.S. government attempted to make this a long-term alliance to counter Iran, fight, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, whatever. But this was really another attempt at launching another pointless, open-ended conflict in the Middle East. And what this really boils down to, and I don't give Trump a lot of credit, but this is one area that the man, I think he did the right thing here. The American people and the people of this country, the United States, are tired or sick and tired of spending billions, trillions of dollars in these open-ended conflicts with very little gain. People are just fed up with these wars, and a lot of the Washington foreign policy establishment, they just don't seem to understand that. And I think, like we all know why. I mean, there are lots of people that are making money off of this thing. Defense contractors, for example, so on and so forth. So this alliance was always going to be temporary, and Turkey, which has been fighting this group for a number of years, going back to the 1980s, they were never going to tolerate a terrorist army right on their border. Okay, for them, this was an obvious national security risk, and it was only a matter of time, whether we had American troops on the ground or not. It was only a matter of time before they moved in. And some of these people, some of these commentators, some of these so-called liberals who are all of a sudden are now neocons, are saying, oh, if we leave, ISIS is going to come back. In my estimation, they're not going to come back. The conditions that existed in 2012, 2014 that allowed ISIS to form and to rise like a phoenix in this area are not there. Because when ISIS was in power, they created a lot of enemies. They pissed off a lot of people. They did a lot of harm. They committed a lot of atrocities. And the people of that region have experienced ISIS. They've tasted what ISIS rule is like. And quite frankly, they just don't want it. So the conditions that existed prior, in 2012, 2013, and 14 in these areas, things have changed. So those conditions that were conducive to the growth of ISIS are simply no longer there. So in my estimation, I don't think ISIS is going to come back. We'll see how this unfolds. But to me, this whole thing, it isn't a surprise in my estimation. It's not. And the area that we're talking about, before I sign off, is the area in yellow over there. So we're talking about a third of Syria, a huge land area that is up for grabs, actually, right now. So we'll see what happens. Thank you.